Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We're reading from chapter 3 of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Avatars, with commentary by Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakur. In our last reading, after a brief description of the avatars was given, it defined Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All avatars mentioned, or those who are not mentioned here, who are portions of Mahavishnu or empowered Jivas, create happiness in the world whenever it is afflicted by demons and their ideas. But it is Krishna who is the ultimate form of Bhagavan. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Svayam. So the first concept of the avatar is that he's a manifestation of the Mahavishnu, the original manifestator of this material world. He who manifests this world is the Mahavishnu. And from him comes various avatars. But Krishna is transcendental even to Mahavishnu, who exists beyond this material creation in his own transcendental abode called Krishna Lok. So, after establishing that basic principle that Krishna is transcendentally situated above this material world, and that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it states that that pure person who chants with devotion the glories of the Lord's appearance, which is mysterious, becomes free from all sorrow. Now the power of chanting the Lord's name is given here. That person who chants with devotion the glories of the Lord, who has made his divine appearance within this world, who remains mysterious, but yet is easily understandable through the blessings of his devotees, becomes free from all sorrows. Text 30, this material realm, composed of the material gunas and the elements, starting from the Mahatattva to earth, and with the Paramatma as its basis, is a material form of the Lord, who has a spiritual form of consciousness and is devoid of a material form. The idea given here is that in the beginning, one may try to see God, but with these eyes we have no power to see God. So the yogis may conceive of this entire universe as the body of God. But at the same time, this body, or this material universe, is material, just like this body is material. But within the body is the Paramatma, and similarly, within this body of the universe is the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Paramatma, the Supreme Lord himself, who is conscious of everything. He is spread everywhere, and he is conscious of every nook and cranny of this material world, and yet he is situated beyond this material world. Unintelligent people may attribute clouds to be the sky, or particles of dust are attributed to be the air. So unintelligent people see the universe, the visible form of the Lord, as the Lord. The idea here is that the clouds are situated within the sky. But you may say the clouds are the sky, or you may say the dust in the air is the air also. This is dusty air. No, the air is a separate thing. The sky is cloudy. There is sky and there's cloud. There's air and there's dust. You may say the air is dusty, but the air is not dusty. The air is always pure, with dust particles within the air. Similarly, the sky is clear with clouds. The presence of rain clouds or something may prohibit us from seeing the blue skies above, but the sky is always pure, but it may be covered by a cloud. So similarly, the example being given here is mankind's intelligence can become clouded, thinking that the universe itself is God. No, there is a conscious being beyond the universe, or within the entirety of the universe, his consciousness spreads. And that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, superior to the gross universal form, states the next verse, is that form which is invisible to mankind, therefore apparently devoid of specific bodily parts, since it cannot be seen or heard. We think that God is then formless. This is like the subtle body of the jiva, which is the instrument of rebirth for the jiva. Again, the example is that this body contains the jiva, this pure soul is there within. Of course, we understand from the Upanishads there are two souls. There is the Atma and the Paramatma, like two birds in a tree. So similarly, this entire universe, there are multitudes and multitudes of living beings, jiva souls. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead extends himself throughout the universe and also within the heart of every living being. When the gross and the subtle material forms, which are impositions on the soul in ignorance, are removed by realization of the devotees, one realizes the Supreme Brahman. Removing the duality of matter and spirit, one sees the Supreme Spirit. One may understand, oh, who am I? We may think I am this body, or we may think I am the subtle makeup of this body, the mind and the ideas that we carry and so forth. But when we go beyond that, we understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there situated within the heart, and we are there situated with him. So one realizes the Supreme Brahman within one's heart when one frees himself from the falsity of thinking I am this body, or I am this mind, or I am this impure consciousness, tainted consciousness. When Maya or ignorance therefore weakens, the Lord bestows his mercy on the jiva. The whole idea is that we are covered by this illusory concept of self. And that is the product of the cloud called Maya. But when that weakens or dissipates, one actually realizes the mercy of the Lord within one's life. The jiva becomes endowed with this special treasure. The wise understand that being situated in this glorious position, this person is worthy of worship. So the devotee feels blessed when that cloud of illusion disperses by the mercy of the Lord through his grace and through our efforts to know him. We have to also have our efforts to know him. He has to see our sincere heart, that we're going to do something to try to understand him. So we chant our rounds, we do our devotional services, we do our meditations, our practices, and so forth. This is actually to strengthen our own resolve and clear away the dirts within the heart, which is ultimately done by the Supreme himself, through the power of his name, through the power of his devotion, and so forth. Here, the commentary says, Vaishardhi refers to the Lord who is skillful at understanding what is beneficial for his devotees. He thinks, oh, let this jiva see me. If the merciful desire of the Lord arises, then he acts in this way. There is no other way. Prabhupada used to say, we should not try to see God, but we want to act in a way that God will see us. That's an important thing. When we say darshan, we'll go for darshan of the deity. We think we're seeing the deity, but we're praying that the deity will see us, because it is his mercy we're dependent on. Our eyes will see a form, okay, decorated, very pretty, like this, so nice, but it may not really touch that deep. But if we pray sincerely, then he will see us. We want him to glance upon us. When we chant in kirtan, it's not just for having a good time. is for drawing his mercy into our life. Let him see that we're enthusiastic for calling out his name, for glorifying him, for worshiping him, like that. So we want to draw his attention. That is the whole thing. On our own, we will not accomplish. We may think, well, I'm doing the chanting, but actually it's the Lord's blessings that ultimately, that's why we say divine mercy or divine grace. By his divine grace, we attribute that to the spiritual master too, Srila Prabhupada, his divine grace. By his grace, by the grace of the Lord, then we are freed from the Maya conception of life. So we have to act, but that acting or those efforts that we put out is actually to draw the attention of the Lord to us. Because otherwise we may go on. If we show no effort or sincerity in wanting to know him, why should he pay any attention to us? It's a relationship. If someone doesn't want a relationship with you and pays no attention to you, then what can you do? If you can draw their attention and maybe they take interest in you, then there may be a development of a relationship. So, here he says, there is no other way. Yam evaisha vitnute tena labhyas tasyaisha atma vivitnute tanum swam. The Lord reveals himself to that person whom he alone chooses. That is a text from the Mundaka Upanishad. That the Lord himself chooses. But he will choose, naturally, anyone who approaches him sincerely. As you surrender unto me, Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, as you surrender unto me, I reciprocate with you. So, Prabhupada used to also say, take one step towards Krishna, Krishna takes 10 steps towards you. Meaning that he is actually more eager for us to draw his attention than we are naturally towards him. So, but a little effort goes a long way with Krishna. One step on our part, 10 steps from him. A little effort. We must put out effort though. So, Vaisharadi Mati means that person who thinks of the Lord. You have to begin to think of the Lord. We were just discussing this morning, you mentioned how our godbrother, Bahulaswadas, he said, like a transistor radio playing in the background all the time, you should hear Krishna's name. Of course, transistor radios are out of date now, but that was back in the 60s. Everyone had a transistor radio. So that meaning that in the background you're hearing music playing. You should always hear Krishna's name. Always think of Krishna. But that will become natural if you practice that. Thus, the first line means, if Maya Devi withdraws her influence, then the Lord favors the devotee. So we're dealing with Maya also. Maya Devi means she is also a person. She has the task given to her by Krishna to keep us covered. That is her service. And she takes it seriously. Keep the living being covered or bound by illusion. That is the nature of Maya Devi. But Maya Devi will also withdraw her influence when she sees our sincerity in approaching Krishna. So Maya Devi withdraws her influence. The statement is, if she withdraws her influence, then the Lord favors the devotee. He sees that, oh, Maya Devi is releasing this devotee from her grip. He must be sincere. So Krishna is taking some note that my devotee, special devotee Maya Devi, who is meant to keep the living being covered, is withdrawing her covering from this jivas because of his efforts to approach me. So then Krishna takes notice. Oh, then the Lord favors the devotee. When Maya withdraws her influence, the jiva can think of the Lord. So two things are there. We have to release ourselves from Maya, but Maya has to release ourselves from her grip. So we have to show our sincerity in all ways. The person thinking in this way or endowed with the Lord's mercy is well furnished, some panah, whereas others remain in a poor condition. The wise understand that he who is situated in this glorious position, Sway Mahimni, is worthy of worship, Mahiyate. So the devotee also becomes worshipable because he has received the mercy of the Lord. Maya has receded, and Krishna's mercy is shining upon that devotee. Text 35 says, thus rejecting the two versions of the universal form, the wise glorify the highest subject of the Vedas. So removing ourselves from this impersonal concept, God is the universe, all that. They may be all right in the beginning with some kind of recognition that there's a divine power above us. But when we actually meditate and hear about the birth and the activities of the Supreme Lord who resides in the hearts of all beings, unlike the universal form, and who has no material birth and no material activities, we begin to advance ourselves by conceiving of the Supreme Lord rightfully as the Supreme Person. He who exists above us, we were discussing last time, we who are made in his image and his likeness, that supreme Godhead, we must meditate upon. Not a hazy concept of God, a clear concept of God. And the Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, exists by the mercy of Vyasadeva to give us a clear concept of God. If we come in contact with the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can understand there is some mercy in our life. Somehow or other, we've gotten the mercy of the Lord to have even this book within our hands, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes the personal aspect of the Lord, and not only in a general way, but in a more specific way, or in the highest specific way, dealing with Krishna, Krishna's true Bhagavan Swayam, who is that supreme reality in the realm of divine love, Braj and Braj Ras. The independent Lord, who has spotless pastimes, who has entered into all beings, creates, maintains, and destroys this universe, being the master of the six senses, he contacts the six sense objects through sound, touch, form, taste, smell, and thought without being affected. He never comes in contact with matter, but he allows us to actually release ourselves from the bondage of matter to begin to hear about him. To touch, we can begin with touching she who is dear to him, Tulsi. That's why we chant on beads, for that touch. She is dear to him. So we're touching Tulsi and we're thinking of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's a power there. You're thinking of Krishna, you're chanting Krishna, you're here touching that bead which is a Tulsi wood, who's dear to Krishna. We wear the Tulsi Kunti Mala. She's dear to Krishna. So we begin to understand how to apply our senses in the service of the Lord. That is Bhakti Yoga, applying our senses so we can hear about Krishna, touch, see the form of Krishna, taste the sweetness of Krishna, relishing through the ear and tasting his Mahaprasad, smelling the incense, smelling the Tulsi leaves, and thought, the sixth aspect, the thought, to think about Krishna. The falsely intelligent person with skill in Gyan or Yoga cannot understand. Using their minds and words, the pastimes, the names, and the forms of the Lord who distributes these wherever he descends. They cannot understand Krishna. It is not simply by the skill of knowledge, Gyan, or the power of yoga that one can understand the Supreme Lord. Just as an ignorant person cannot appreciate the performance of an actor, that there is someone behind that mask or someone behind that persona. So we have to understand who is Krishna. That is the subject matter of this work. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Svayam. But we're going to understand the whole aspect of Krishna, dealing with the universe, dealing with his form of Mahavishnu, dealing with the various avatars. And we see how Krishna interacts with the jivas within this world, ultimately to bring us, by his mercy, to understand him in that highest reality. He who worships even the scent of the lotus feet of the Lord sincerely, continuously, and with a favorable attitude, knows the greatness of that holder of the chakra, that possessor of infinite prowess. He who worships even the scent of the lotus feet of the Lord, knowing his greatness, he who holds the chakra, who can destroy the jiva's entanglement within this material world, understanding he is the possessor of infinite power. It is he whom we must take shelter of. And here the commentary says, the Lord is understood by bhakti. O men of knowledge, you are the most fortunate in this world, because when people concentrate their minds exclusively on Krishna, the Lord of all the worlds, by asking such questions as the sages of Naimisharanya are now asking Sutta Goswami, they cease the painful repetition of birth and death. Now the speaker is glorifying the audience. O men of knowledge, you are truly intelligent to ask such questions. You are most fortunate, because when people concentrate their minds in wanting to know what is Krishna, who is Krishna, that Lord of all the worlds, by asking such questions of you as you have asked, the result comes. They cease that painful repetition of the samsara, the repetition of birth and death. That Supreme Lord Vyas wrote down this greatest, most auspicious Purana called the Srimad Bhagavatam, which bestows all human goals and is non-different than Krishna. The book is non-different than Krishna. That's why I said earlier, come in contact with this book, even to have it, one is most fortunate, because he's in contact with Krishna. The book is Krishna. It's non-different than Krishna. It has appeared, the book itself, as is described, it appears within the age of Kali to remove the darkness of this age and bring light to this world. So, the Supreme Lord Vyas, who is a form of the Lord, wrote down this most auspicious Purana, considered the greatest of all Puranas, and it bestows all good fortune upon the living beings, because this book is non-different than Krishna. And it describes the activities and the qualities of the Lord for the highest benefit of all of mankind. Vyasadeva had his son Shukadev, best of the self-controlled, study this scripture, which is the very essence of all the Vedas and histories. Vyas had compiled so many things, but he requested his son, you study the Srimad Bhagavatam. And by that, Shukadev developed the highest love for the Lord. By hearing the Bhagavatam, he is the example. He was already situated in transcendence, and he heard the Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva, his father, said, of all my writings, the Srimad Bhagavatam is topmost. We'll hear later how, after compilation of Mahabharata and so forth, Vyasadeva still wasn't satisfied. It was only till Narada Muni, his guru, stepped in and showed him the way of writing about the Supreme Lord, Krishna, and the ways of Bhakti Yoga. So Shukadev spoke this Bhagavatam. Well, let me finish. I think I missed a line here. Vyas had his son Shukadev, best of the self-controlled, study the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very essence, the essence of the Vedas. and all its histories or Puranas. Shukadev then spoke this Bhagavatam to King Parikshit, who was surrounded by great sages, as he sat fasting till death on the bank of the Ganga. We'll stop here. So this is how the narration was handed down from Vyasadeva to Shukadev, and this will all be described also as we study the text. Jai Gaur Premanandi Haribol Jai Shri Shri Radhe Shyam. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.